Morning everybody, it's Chris here from Serene Education with the 4 Majors Analysis Update for the 27th of June 2011. Starting with the Euro against US dollar on our CTC strategy template. Let's look at the daily. Asian market is seen trading lower from Friday's close, and you can see Euro is definitely falling to the downside. Notice the peaks. You can see the intermediate trends. Just recently, you can see the 50-period moving average failing to trade higher than our previous resistance level here at 14,400, failing at the 50-period moving average and subsequently falling lower. And where's taking us now? Well, you can see that price is trading roughly at a previous swing or support, and Asian market has taken us through it. The actual breakout on trade down after the bounce that we saw recently, you can see a price action has been happening at the top end of the candle. A lot of indecision on this, and then you could see that Friday's candle was indecisive, trading range higher, but also to the downside. And then Asian market today, or this morning, we've seen it open from the previous low and trading lower, going into the Euro open at 7 AM GMT. So where does it leave us for that? Well, you can see the CTC is still blue across the board on the daily time frame. We are still in a negative uptrend, or positive uptrend, apologies. And if you take into consideration all the bounces, bar this breakout or fake out that we saw early Jan of this year, you can see the majority or the major trend is still to the upside. We've had a bounce of the past couple of months, and then we've had a breakout recently. This is all stemming because of all the issues that the euro is going through, especially with Greece at the moment now looking like it's going to be defaulting. And there's a austerity plan that's been put through by the IMF and the EU, trying to see if they can stem or trying to help the bailout of Greece with another injection of a couple $100 billion. But the Greece has obviously got to meet they have to meet a couple of the rules put forward by the IMF and the EU, and it's now down to the Greece government to see if they can actually meet those requirements. If not, then they won't get the bailout funding, and which will lead to Greece defaulting anyway. So as it stands now, we should be looking for possibilities for further shorting, and our next target, our next major target, would probably be roughly around here at the 1400 level, just short of it, probably about 1403-ish, but price has traded, broken this major trend, and we're heading toward that area. So intraday, look for 1400 as your next possible target. Here on a 4-hour chart, you can just put that in. 03, I think it is, or 1400 ideally would be your ultimate goal, but that'll be your major target. You can see that the institutional moving average is still trading above price, as well as all the moving averages. So we know the CTC is well extended in our favor. You see we had a start of the downtrend, a pullback, and now we're at the trading to 61.8 fib area for this particular pair. 100% of this move would take us to, funny enough, the 1400 mark. So break below the close we saw on the at 2 AM this morning, so a close lower than the low of the Asian market at 1410 would definitely signal further downside movement for this pair. You can see, if you took into consideration the major move, notice that this is the previous swing, which is lower than this one, which is lower than that, which is lower than that. So you can see price movement is down, it's trading below all the moving averages, and quite a steep sell-off. So if we see the next 4-hour candle failing to break higher than the 50 period or 50% fib area, then we're definitely going to see further downside movement for this pair, and 1400 would be our ultimate target for the first part of this week. So you can see on our small time frames a bit of consolidation after the break lower, and as I mentioned, 1410 will ideally be the low. We need to break below or close lower than that to see further extensions downwards. Notice that there's a ceiling level on this pair. We've had a couple of hours where prices failed to break higher than the 1350 mark. Notice the swing lows, swing direction, swings are all lower than the previous ones. Bit of consolidation here, but notice that price is trading below all the moving averages, and the CTC is one in our favor. If we don't see price is obviously going to be breaking higher than this consolidation range at the 1350 mark, and if that was the case, then we could see price testing the 1650 mark quite soon, which would bring us back to the major trend to the downside. Bar that fake out that we saw, you can see the major trend is negative. Here we go. More touches, stronger trend intraday on 30 minutes. Failed to break above the 1450, or ideally above this prior swing low here at 1650. Would definitely see further downside movement for this pair. Next pair we're looking at is the sterling against US dollar. Let's look at the daily time frame. You can see the extensions lower. This pair, if you put the major trend in, has been breached, and price is trading lower on the underside, or failing to break higher than the underside of the major trend. See the breakout. You can see that the moving averages are trading above price, and swing lows across the board from the high that we saw in late April of this year. So you can see price failing to trade higher and resistance being found, and price reverting to the downside because of that. A breakout recently, a pullback to the underside of the major trend, and a continuation. So as it stands now, you could see if you took that as your start, that's the pullback continuation. We're looking at 15,900 as our first target. 100% of the initial move. 161.8 would be roughly around about the 1567 mark. 261 will take it right back down to the previous major swing to the upside. So still some more to the downside. It's also on a weekly trading lower than the 50 pair moving average. Also a negative. You can see that price is gapped down, but that's Metastock for you. We have to just be aware that sterling hasn't given us any news between last night at 21:45 to 6 this morning. So just look at your broker for the data for that time frame. But you can see that we are trading lower at the time frame. We're seeing a slight pullback now on the European session open. But 15,900 is the first target for this pair. As it stands, as long as it's trading below the 1605 or the 200 period moving average, then we're still in a negative trend. CTC is extended in our favor on the daily, so we should be looking for nothing more than shorting opportunities. If you look at our hourly, for example, the breakout, you can see the consolidation, higher swings as we over the past couple of days as consolidation has taken effect. However, it's failed to break above a prior support and resistance level here at 1603. A support, then a resistance level, 50 period moving average coming into play, and pushing it lower. Into moving average all trading above price, and you can see that the intermediate trend on the inside, you can see that the swing lows are all roughly around the same spot, and we've seen the breakout lower. Failure to see the break higher than the area testing now, the previous swing, at 1594.50. A failure to break or trade higher than that will just confirm that we're now trading on the underside of a breakout, and we should be looking for further extensions lower due to that. So we just had a pullback. We normally see a price pulling back after a breakout, then continuing to the downside. CTC is in our favor on hourly charts, so we should be looking for entries to the downside. Ideally, if you can see a break lower than the Asian market low here at 1591.50, then we should be looking for further extensions to the downside for this pair. US dollar Swiss franc is the next one up. Let's have a look at the daily time frame. You can see that this is in a major downtrend since mid last year, 2010, and the US dollar has just recently found a support or made a very strong support level for itself, and you can see price reverted to the upside, failed to break higher than a previous swing low, and the overall trend came in and pushed it lower. You can see the major trend above us here, and then price failed to break above a previous support and resistance level at the 85.50 mark, and we saw price revert to the downside. And on this time frame you can see that the swing lows have been quite close and pushing this lower, and all the negative news that we've seen on the US dollar hasn't been of any good for the pair. And on Friday we saw price continue and testing the previous low that we had formed on the 3rd of June, the low at 83.35. However, we saw the Asian market open lower, and going into the European session this morning we're seeing it trading higher. So could we see a support area here? Could we see a bounce? It's happened before. We see a bounce higher, then we could see one back to the 20 period moving average to start with, or it breaks above that, then obviously the previous high roughly around the 855.50 mark for this pair. So as it stands now, if the daily can close higher than this previous support level at 83.35, then we're going to see a definite bounce to the upside for this pair. Notice on our 4 hour, the 20 period moving average acting as a strong resistance level. You can see we've had a pullback, and as I mentioned, if it's trending above 83.50, then we should be looking for further extensions. However, the 20 period moving average has acted as a support, a resistance level in the past, and the last 4 hours has given us an indecision candle, and the new candle is trading lower than that. So if we get a bearish candle here, then we're looking for further downside movement, because as you can see the swings are lower on this pair, and we should be taking into consideration that the CTC is bearish and is trading above, or it's trading below the 3 moving averages on our chart, and we've got the CTC in our favor on our 4 hour. So our hourly chart should give us the same picture here. It's trading against a 50 period as a resistance level, and it's trading above or below, apologies, the 200 and the 50 and the 20 period moving average just recently. But you can see that over the past couple of hours we've seen resistance level at the 50 period moving average. So failure to break and trade higher than the previous here at 83.75 or going to 83.80 at least, we should see price fall over again and reattempt the lows that we saw at 83.35 as our major support area for this pair. Let me just put that in so you guys can see it. But you can see that the 50 period moving average acting as a ceiling level for this pair, and the CTC is in our favor for further shorting. We've had a blue arrow and blue candles. This is just consolidating. It's just tell you heads up, we are at a price support area. Ideally, to see this push higher, we want to be trading above this previous band of indecision here. There's almost a block. If we can get above all that noise here, then we should see further progression higher. Only until such time as actually trading above that block. So anything above 83.85 would definitely see further indication of upside movement. Last pair of the day is US dollar against Japanese yen. Let's have a look at the daily time frame. Here again you can see the US dollar gaining a bit of strength against its counterpart the yen and bouncing higher. However, it's failing to break above the previous resistance level here just below the 8100 mark. The 50 period acting as resistance level here, ceiling level. It's got to be trading higher than that to obviously see the CTC going blue soon. We've got a mixture of, well, you can see an indecision here, you can see blue and red arrows, and failure to continue with those moves. Notice that the CTC on a daily or on a long-term time frame, you can see the price is moving steadily to the downside. That's reflected in price moving sideways. You can see the highs getting lower by this intervention that failed but we definitely do have a support area, that strong support that's been formed at the 80 mark, because we haven't had a price trading lower than that since we saw the first support level being forged in early May, a reattempt in early June, and over the past couple of weeks leading up till to today, we've seen a bounce. So to see further progression, we need to see price trading higher than 81 or closing higher than 8100 to see even an attempt of the prior ceiling level or major trend at the 8150 for starters. The 50 period and the 200 period moving average trading above it, and the CTC is negative, so failure to see price trading higher than 8100 will just confirm further consolidation, and we should see a retest of the 80 going into the remainder of this week. So price needs to be trading well above 8100 to see further progression to the upside for this pair. Our smaller time frames, our intraday time frames, is giving us the buying, because we saw that bounce on the 80 mark, which is, if I can find it here on the chart, yep, there we go. That's a strong support area, long-term support for this pair, and you can see prices bounced higher. We're seeing higher swings going into the smaller time frames, and it's trading above all its moving averages, and you can see price has found formed a consolidation band where we saw a previous high, and it's also forged a low. So we're trading in a bit of consolidation here. We want to see a break on either side of that, ideally above the Asian high at 80-85 to see further progressions up to 9100, and if that's the case, we see a close higher than that, we could see definite confirmation of further upside movement, because the swing highs have been formed. So you can see this high was lower than, this low here was higher than that one, and we're swinging higher, confirming uptrend, and you can see the breakout of the previous one, so lower swing than that, lower swing than that. I mean, just recently we had it fell to trade lower, then breakout, pullback, continuation in the Asian market trading hours this morning. Now we're going to see it trading higher than 80-85 to see further progression to the upside for this pair. That's it for today, guys. Hope you have a fantastic trading day. Make sure that you follow the rules of the CTC. There's not a lot of news out today, but I always say that still waters run deep. The austerity plan has been put forward to Greece. Now the Greeks have to sit and mull over it and see if they can actually come up with a lot of the rules that the IMF and the EU governments have put together for this bailout package. It's a failure for Greece not to actually come up with a plan, and they can't come up with any of the they can't follow through with any of the rules that the IMF or the EU has put in place. Then you're going to see that the Greeks are going to fail to get that bailout funding of 120 billion pounds. If that's the case, then it's more likely that Greece is going to default, and that's just going to send a huge ripple through the European sector, and which would bode for further shorting and a lot of selling, and globally it'll be a major issue. So be aware of that. Not a lot of news out today, but just trade tentatively anyway, because there's a lot of news, especially in Europe, and that's going to reflect widely on the currency globally as a whole. So enjoy your trading, enjoy the start of your week, and most importantly, trade serenely.